Good evening, Avram.
Hey, sorry, it took me a couple minutes to get Isaac to bed and then
You're fine.
put something on the dryer. So I have a few different things I could talk about, and I'm curious which you find the most interesting.
Okay.
So, we could, well, let's see. There's like three major things I covered and one major thing I did in the last couple of weeks. So,
Got it.
things I covered. Um, And this last one probably isn't that exciting because I don't even have one of the models here to show you. But I figured out what the Copilot key really does. That it's really F23. Um,
Is
the
it
other
straight?
thing,
Is it straight F23? Or is
no,
it...
it's F23 plus Shift plus Windows.
Oh, shift. I thought it was
It's
control.
Shift.
Sorry.
Yeah, I might have messed up when I said that at one point.
That's
It's
okay.
it's Window plus Left Shift plus
F23.
F23. Yeah.
When
But there's still ways to.
when all they had to do was Windows
Yeah.
C.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
So that's kind of amusing that they did that, but it's not like life changing. I did that story last week about Copilot doing anti-Semitic images. I don't know if that's our best topic to talk about. On Friday, an interesting AI thing happened, which is TCL TV Plus announced that they are going to make the world's first AI rom-com.
Uh-huh.
And I did get some quotes from them and comments from them about it, what technology they're using. And have you watched the trailer yet?
I have not.
So we could do a live reaction to the trailer. It's
Okay.
only 60 seconds long. Uh, I could show you the trailer and watch. We could see how you react to it. It's actually pretty hilarious to talk about. In light of all the other things that are going on in the world of AI, such as the Adam Schiff proposal that came up last week, and so on. Um, the other YouTube.
Okay.
You're kind of pixelated. I'm kind of pixelated.
Okay.
You're kind of pixelated. I'm kind of pixelated.
My side.
On your side, okay.
Internet went away. Like, totally. Boop. Everything went...
But we can.
Good. I'm actually running off my phone right now. I'm gonna go put it closer to the door to get
Oh no!
Yeah. Not the first time I've done this. Let me go
Oh
put it
no!
closer to the door to guarantee I've got better signal. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. No problem. So, like, maybe Scott should get that T-Mobile home internet.
Anyways,
Just considering how poorly the internet is, How much do you want to do something that involves pictures? Or
Fair.
or video.
I mean, it's all fair.
Those are your choices. I could. I can show you my. I can show my amazing collection of pictures from yesterday that will blow your mind.
I was definitely enjoying you
and
posting them online. That's what I was watching. That's where we left off. That's what I was watching. You posting photos of the event on Facebook.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Well, I would actually be curious how many of the things there you recognize.
Fair enough.
How many things? How many of the product of the PCs that we saw, that the computers that we saw, you recognize? But so I don't know. That is fun. Or we could talk about the lovely. Well, let's banter at some point about the AI thing because it's just hilarious, and then maybe we could do the picture show because I don't know. I'm enjoying looking at it, and if we can get the audience to see it, that would be cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun one.
Yeah.
I know in the photos that I was looking at earlier, there are at least several that I have. So
Yeah.
all right. I'm good with all of that if you're good with all that.
Yep.
All right, then I am going to hit record. Oh, good. Perfect timing for the dog to start barking in the background. How obvious? How loud is he? Can you hear him at all?
I can hear him, but it's not so bad.
Okay. Hopefully, he will be taken care of momentarily. All right. Here we go. This week, Alexa skills are in trouble. Pokémon Violet leads to jail? Broadband labels are here, and Star Trek Lower Decks is going away. It's Sunday, April 14th, 2024, and this is episode 664 of F5 Live Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, X, or Instagram, through our live streaming services, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free episodes of F5 Live and Piltch Point. Or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do this. First, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. Tonight, we're going to go even further. We're going to have people give us their feedback on some photos. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay as well. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. You can see all of our shows and find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. All right. We've been off for a little while. We've had some personal things going on over here, and interestingly, some weird personal things, some weird things going on tonight, as the internet is not exactly working correctly for us here tonight. So if you're watching live and things go a little weird, that's why. We will be back as quick as possible. If you're watching this on the recording, you have no idea what I'm talking about because it's already been edited out. Anyway, Avram, how have you been?
Yep. All right, not bad. Obviously, lots going on in the world. Lots going on with AI, which I cover. Later, we'll talk about a really awesome little excursion I had, which is cool to do a show and tell. But I did want to mention, for hilarity purposes, that folks take a minute of their day and watch uh, the trailer for the world's first AI created rom com called Next Stop Paris. It was the that was I spent a while covering that on Friday. It probably doesn't deserve its own segment, but you would get a real kick out of. It's a worthy 60 seconds of hate watching. Um, the if you go to YouTube and you look up TCL TV Plus or Next Stop Paris, or my article on it on tomshardware.com, the company. So you might be surprised to learn that TCL, which makes television sets, wants to have their own channel, which they sort of do now, but it's just sort of repurposing, on-demand movies from elsewhere, and they want to get into original content, like Roku has done to an
Sure.
extent. And so their first foray into this is to make a rom com that is uh, created with Runway ML, the and Midjourney, and some other tools, but apparently real voice actors and real music players, and supposedly a real writer, although then AI might have written it better. This makes the Hallmark Channel look like Shakespeare. It has
Oof.
every romance trope that you could imagine in it. But I'm kind of dying to see it when it actually comes out in full, which they say will be this summer. Because it looks like kind of like it definitely does not give a positive. The trailer as they have it definitely does not give a positive view of AI, of what AI is capable of, because you have like the whole trailer is this man and this woman are on a train to Paris and they start talking, and then this shows their whole like romance that is very trite. She says he's Mr. Tall, dark, and mysterious or something, and literally, and then like he rides a motorcycle around, and then they have some tension and he rides away from her and she says don't go. Then there's another scene where he says I'm never giving up on you, or whatever. So now in 60 seconds what the whole plot is going to be, I guess. um, and But in every scene that they show this man and this woman, they look like a different person,
Yes.
because with AI, one of the hardest things to do is character consistency. If
Uh-huh.
I ask it for like young blonde woman with blue eyes staring out the window, and then I ask it again, young blonde woman with blue eyes sitting at a table in a Parisian restaurant crying or whatever, it's probably not going to give me the same young blonde woman, right?
Sure.
Um, there are supposedly some ways around that, like if you have a reference picture and then you upload it and you're like this young blonde woman doing it, whatever, that may
Yeah.
help you. But um but anyway, it's kind of it's interesting that they've chosen to do this. I think they're just doing it so that they can kind of stand out. But many props to the people at TCL TV Plus for actually responding to my queries and giving me some actual news about like what tools they used.
Yeah.
They confirmed that they used Runway ML, which is a popular video editor, and they also used Midjourney for some stuff. So anyway, I'll let that be. But I'm dying to hear everybody's reaction. Look it up. Try watching it. It's that 60 seconds of your life you'll never have back, but you'll find it quite entertaining if you come in with the right attitude.
I mean, the the idea is hilarious to me. I have it pulled up over here. I'm not playing it because internet issues, but I have it pulled up here on my left, and I cannot wait. I really would like to do a reaction to this because
Especially you look at like the clock. There's like a clock tower in it, and if you look closely at it, I didn't notice this, but somebody else did. That it has the number 3 on it multiple times on the clock. So, um, you know, stuff like that. I mean, this is typical of what you can expect from AI.
I'm gonna count the number of fingers they have in each scene. Like that's generally
that
my
seems
go-to.
to be a thing, but yeah, I mean, I think things are getting a little better there. It's pretty easy to that people are very aware of that one, so you got to be careful, right? I guess though, if you have an AI generated song in the style of 5-Finger Death Punch, it actually turns out to be 6-Finger Death Punch. Anyway.
All right.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I'll let us go that, but I definitely encourage you and everyone in the audience to check this out because you got to laugh to keep from crying sometimes, and you know, I don't think they meant it this way, but it is a really good laugh.
And you know what? I know several of the people over at TCL, and there's always the possibility, if the U.S. division of TCL was involved in this at all, based on the personality of the...
They definitely were.
Yeah. TCL USA has, like, a really great personality. So it's possible that they meant it this way. And they're just not saying that out loud.
I mean, they certainly wanted attention, and so they got attention, right? Like, it was a good way to get headlines for the fact that they're going into original content. Now, if they never even come out with this movie, they've gotten some headlines about what they're doing, and they've generated some interest. So
yeah, and that TCL TV Plus, which too many T's, and you used a plus. Come on, guys. Just anyway, it's a brand name that's in people's minds because there's this possible digital train wreck on its way, and that could be exciting.
Yes, indeed.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm looking forward to that, but we've got a lot of stuff to cover tonight, so I think it's probably time to get down to it. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, tablet, Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. Remember, current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. For the last 6 months or so, we've had a lot of conversations about the future of Amazon's plans for their digital assistant. I won't say her name for fear of triggering one in your home, not in Avram's home, but somebody else's perhaps. So at one point, there was talk that possibly the whole division, or at least the hardware division supporting it, might be shut down. There were massive layoffs across Amazon hardware, and the Echo division, we'll go with that, was affected. So we didn't know what the future might hold. Then something weird happened. Panos Panay from Microsoft left the company and joined Amazon to head up essentially this division, devices and services, which is where he's most at home. He famously was responsible for the Surface line of products, basically all of the Windows phones, and a whole lot more. That's the role for him. And now Another slight pivot with most of the hardware team gone um, during recent layoffs. Panos joining the company and a renewed focus on Madam A. Amazon has shut down their what was it called? Uh, Skills rewards or something like that. Let me see if I can find the word. Yeah, the Madam A developer rewards program. Specifically, the goal of that program was to entice developers to make skills for the digital assistant. I'm going out of my way to not say her name. Um, the when they when they launched the platform, they saw it as a development platform. They saw it as Windows or Android or being in that space, but something that you could trigger with your voice. And that third-party developers would want to build all kinds of interesting services for the platform. And while some of that has happened, for example, I can ask my Echo Show to turn on the security cameras all over the house, inside and outside, to give me live views. I can ask one of the speakers to turn on my Xbox, pause video, things like that. The number of skills that have been developed was not what Amazon had hoped. I think they had hoped that companies like, Publix and Winn-Dixie would allow you to create your shopping carts via your voice, that you'd be able to, get train information. And in reality, what you've got is a bunch of free skills or integrated skills. Things like the direct integrated skill for the security camera, or silly free things like I don't know, trivia games that have little value, except for time wasters maybe while you're waiting for an egg to boil, right? That wasn't their goal, and as such, they are shutting down the rewards program. The rewards program was primarily giving free AWS credits to people who were developing skills for the speakers. And so now they are essentially disincentivizing new development and even active products, because if all of a sudden developers have to pay for AWS services behind the scenes to keep their free trivia game, or, barking dog sounds, which is an actual skill on there, you can ask it to bark as basically any breed. Why? I don't know. But I can't imagine that the bandwidth required to do something like that on AWS is going to be worth the $0 that is being charged for it. So some of the skills that exist now will probably disappear. Probably no new skills will be developed, and that might be what they're going for. There's a Madam A Plus subscription service that has been rumored. There's been an AI kind of rewrite behind the scenes that has been rumored. Those things might go together, similar to Windows Copilot, Windows Copilot Pro, or whatever they call it. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what they're up to, but it seems that maybe they've leaned into the idea that most people ask for the time and weather, and that's what the average consumer does with these speakers. What do you think, Avram?
So, what I would love to find out is, what have people done in terms of market research to find out how people want their assistant, how they want to interact with an assistant, and what they want the assistant to do. This really cuts across not just the voice assistants that we have from Amazon and Google and Apple with Siri, but also Copilot and ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
those are also assistants, and I'm sure that somebody in the business would like to kind of unite those two sets of assistants
Mm-hmm.
so that you didn't go to ChatGPT for one thing and Siri for another thing and Alexa for another thing, right?
Yeah.
But um, the question is, what do people want to do by voice? What do people want to do on their phone? What do people want to do on their computer? And how do they want to do it?
Right.
Um, like, I don't know how many, like, first of all, I want to say that one article I did recently was about how generative AI is very often, maybe always, the solution to is a solution in search of a problem. Not, I mean, people are having fun with it, they're whatever making stuff, but before it came out, was anybody asking like, oh, I can't wait to be able to give a prompt and have it create a silly picture for me? I
Right.
can't wait to be able to give a prompt and have it do my homework for me, uh, or possibly with mistakes, right? Like, I can't wait to have it, give me an answer here in Google instead of sending me to a reputable website. Like that, I think that a lot of what is going on is companies made these things and then they're like, how do we get people to use them,
Yeah. Where do we
instead
put
of
it?
looking at, okay, well, how does this actually help our consumers? What is it that it helps them do that was missing in their life before? So
Sure.
I one thing I think that they found with Alexa and with Madam A and Madam G is that uh, is that very often people people don't want to use them for shopping for the
Yeah.
most part,
Yeah.
right? They don't, which is what I think their creators had envisioned. They
Correct.
wanted to encourage more purchases, but in
Amazon.
fact, I don't
Amazon
think people
specifically
feel
said that.
comfortable.
That was a big goal
Right.
for
I don't
Amazon.
think
Was they
people
had
feel
hoped that people would add things to their cart and make purchases all with their voice. If you go back to the early days, they had the buttons and all kinds of stuff that were all part of that ecosystem. Most of it's been discontinued, save for the
yeah,
speakers.
right. Right, because I think what they have found probably is that people don't, and I can't blame people for this, don't trust it. They're probably
Yeah.
like, hey, look, if I'm going to buy something, I don't want to just tell a voice assistant to spend my money for me, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to look at a screen and confirm what I ordered and make sure it's the right thing and see exactly how much I'm being charged and all that stuff. So I can see that people probably don't trust the convenience of it,
Yeah.
right? Especially because sometimes with all kinds of things with these assistants, they're very far from perfect. You ask for one thing, you get another thing.
Mm-hmm.
You it comes on, you talking to someone in your house and it comes on for no apparent reason, or it thinks you said its name.
Yep.
I mean, that doesn't inspire confidence like like going onto your phone or computer, which is not that difficult,
Mm-hmm.
right? And actually looking at the shopping cart and exactly what you bought and exactly what you're going to pay, and not just saying like, hey, buy me this thing. um like, it's not, it's a level of conciergeness that you just don't need. Like, a
Right.
lot of this stuff is kind of based on the idea that, like, wouldn't it be great to have a servant to do something for you? Wouldn't it be great to be like a wealthy person? And like, no, seriously, it's sort of like, in a way, you could do all kinds of like economic readings of these assistants where people sort of feel like, oh, hey, I'm a middle class person. There's no way I can afford a personal shopper or a butler, or or to
Mm-hmm.
have people, right, an assistant. But gosh darn it, I can talk to this $50 speaker, and I can feel like I am sort of getting the experience of having people who work for me to do
Right.
household chores. But the reality is, it once you get past the, I don't know, the the surprise of that. Oh, look, I can tell this thing what to do. It's really not that useful, except for a very few things where it's like, okay, I want to ask it to turn off the lights, and I don't have to go touch the light switch. Like, that's useful, right? I want to ask it to to do something like change the temperature. Great. I want a very specific piece of helpful information, like the weather or the time or whatever, or to set an alarm.
Right.
Like, those are all fantastic, simple use cases, good to use your voice, pretty straightforward. But I think there's a limitation of the voice interface, a period of the speaker interface. So then the question is, do you want to be talking to your computer when you're on your computer, or you just want to be typing things in?
Right.
What we really haven't seen, I mean, can you use Copilot with your voice? I think you can, but I don't see a lot of people, using it as a voice response assistant. So, is that something people want to do with their voice? If they're, obviously, if you have physical reasons that you can't type, then you certainly would want that. But for but for people who are able to operate a keyboard,
in Moment 5, which just came out this week, right? Copilot added all kinds of accessibility things to it. Things that it can control on the computer via either text or voice, for that purpose. For, because Microsoft has a big focus on accessibility these days, right? With the game controller, and they've got all kinds of new hardware accessories and stuff, which I think is awesome. I'm really glad they're doing it. And they've built that into Copilot. But again, that's a pretty narrow use case. It's a great one, but pretty narrow.
Yeah. It's also like a lot of the things that Copilot does, they have to, for security reasons, have you click something. So it sort of takes away the whole benefit, right? Like, you ask it, I did a story about this a couple of weeks ago. You ask it to change you to dark mode, and it says, yes, click here if you want me to really change you to dark mode. So you could have just gone to an amount of time you took to ask it to do something for you. Like, would you open this website for me? Would you launch Notepad for me? Like, why bother? You could just do it. So it's not helpful. It's like using it in this concierge way for the purpose of it. And I don't think a lot of people want that.
And on that example, just because it's an interesting example, so I typed in change to dark mode. It took 8 seconds. Now, granted, we're having internet problems right now, so who knows? But it took 8 seconds, and then once it put the dialog box up, it started to type below it. So the buttons kept moving. And so best case scenario, it's Windows C to get that up, type the thing. Or I can just hit Windows and type in dark mode and enter, and I'm already here.
Yeah, exactly.
It legitimately took me less time to do this. Now, if there was no dialogue and I could say, hey, Cortana, I'm sorry, hey, Copilot, change to dark mode, and it just did it, okay. I mean, I understand they're trying to prevent the Bill Gates presentation from, what was it, Windows 2000, the not the Power Toys, but the previous thing of that. And somebody just shouted to format the second hard drive on the computer, and it did because there were no checks.
You see, they have to have that. They have to have that because prompt injection, which we've talked about on the show, is a real thing, and so that's their way of protecting you against prompt injection. or audio prompt injection,
Right.
right? As well. But however it's getting injected, it's an injection, right? So yeah, that's their way of protecting against it, and I get that. But at the same time, that inherently uh,
Less useful.
makes it slower. So yes, uh, but that does bring my attention to. I don't know if you saw this week. There was a big viral thing by, I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. Um, he was a former Windows developer who had a lot of complaints about Windows 11 being slow, and saying that like the start menu and specifically is slow, and when you go to start searching, um, it like you type something like you'd start typing in the name of like Notepad, but it would lose the N, so you'd try to launch Otepad, and it would go to like Bing or something. And he was talking about how when he was there, he'd never have allowed such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I remember
so
that. I saw
uh,
that going
it's
around.
kind of it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And
So
you know,
so
I think it might have been you guys that published a thing this week about 16 gigs of RAM, maybe, I don't know, and how Windows has become a bloated system hog, and that it's one of the many reasons why an 8 gig laptop, I talk about it all the time, why an 8 gig laptop is a bad idea. And there's all this stuff in the background that's happening that doesn't need to happen, and yeah, it causes things like key drops. I now I have a new laptop over here that I'm currently testing out to see if I want to switch to it. And I've never had key drops like on this computer, so I think there might be something wrong with the keyboard. But I can imagine like if that were a regular thing for somebody, oh, because I almost threw this thing today. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think this person, his name is Andy Young. I see now. I think his thing was he was doing searches, which is what you would do, right? Like you'd go and you'd search for dark mode. You wouldn't try to go to the to the
mm-hmm.
settings menu and figure out where in the settings menu the easiest thing to do is Windows search, right?
Yeah,
And
which
so
is
his
precisely
problem
what I
was he
did.
was going to start.
That was precisely what I did when I did my
Right,
test a few minutes ago.
right, right. So exactly. So I think his problem was it wasn't transitioning from start to search fast enough, and he lost a key or two. And part of it was bringing up things in Bing. And my suggestion, if for folks who are annoyed by that, which I am too, is to disable internet search on your Windows search. Which
That makes sense.
I don't want Bing results in my Windows search. I'm using it to find local stuff. Um, so I think that improves the situation quite a bit, but yeah, it's frustrating. Anyway, everything everything is frustrating, but I think the takeaway, to get back to our original topic of Alexa, is I think that companies are trying to push methods of interaction that they want the user
Yeah.
to do, and not taking a user centric approach to figure out what the user would actually wants.
Yeah, totally agreed. And I suspect because so Panos is in charge over there now, and when he was at Microsoft, one of the things that he did, now they never got the consumer buy-in on it, but that's a Microsoft issue, not a technological issue. They he actually did a lot of times did big user research before going down any product path. Cortana was one of them. I happened to be in one of the test groups or one of the survey groups early on. But everything about user interaction, like literally, they did a whole study on which shade of yellow would make alert dialog boxes more likely to be read. So the market research that was done over there probably is the reason why the product didn't work, because Cortana work out consumer wise, because Cortana didn't do everything that Madam A or G did. But that was because they found out the customers didn't want it to do that. But then, hey, look, we can do this, and they can't. So it ends up biting them sometimes. But my guess is that there's going to be some of this research done now at Amazon, and it'll be really, really interesting to see how it goes. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. Still loving that music. Anyway, so what have you got for us tonight, Avram?
So I'm going to give you a like when kids are in school and they're like, "What did you do for your summer vacation?" or "What did you do for your winter vacation?" I'm going to show you my pictures from a very special outing that I had yesterday, and ask how much you know about all of these things that I'm going to show you. So
Excellent.
my son, who just had his 12th birthday, and I went to the Vintage Computer Festival East, an annual event in New Jersey where they have people come and bring like all kinds of old computers and show them off and do exhibits. They sell kind of retro kits. They have people selling old stuff. They have presentations and talks. They have classes on how to do certain things. And so we got to go only for one of the 3 days. And unfortunately, the classes that we wanted to go to were signed up because we didn't get there early enough to put our name on the list to do learn Atari Basic or Atari Assembler, which is what he wanted to learn, which is kind of funny because we looked in the room, we looked that there was no room on the list, and my son got upset and he's like, "Oh no, I'll never learn Atari Assembler." That's something that has never been said before. So I want to show you some of these pictures that we took. And see how many of these things you and those in the audience remember using or can identify. And some of these have some really fantastic stories behind them that I did not know before. So I learned some things, as you would hope to learn something at an event like this. So, so let's see. I'm sharing my screen here. So this first picture is from the museum portion. I should note that if folks live in New Jersey or near New Jersey, the museum area where they had this, which is called Info Age in Wall Township, has a permanent computer museum. And, in addition to the festival. So this picture actually is from the permanent museum collection. And it shows Moore's Law, and it shows a bunch of, 8086 CPUs. One thing, some of these I have owned. Which of these have you used, Scott?
So I'm looking at what's in here. So 8086, 286, 386, 46. I've had all of those. I still have at least one of each.
That is certainly a message of the show, is that don't throw your things away.
Yeah. There's definitely a little bit of a pack rat mentality to my collecting, but there's also some, there's cool stuff, right, from the past that has kind of disappeared into history. So I'm glad that there's something like this. It's something that I want to do as well. I think we've talked about it on the show. My goal is to have a bit of a computer history museum, and I think we're going to incorporate that into the Forge once we're in our own space, which is kind of cool to finally be able to start doing that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that, I mean, I even actively have, most of which still powers on.
So I found this interesting. This is the first. I think this is the first AMD x86 chip,
Uh-huh.
the 286 AMD. So that was kind of cool. Um, so this here is a Xerox Star 8010.
Yeah,
It is. You'll notice it has a UI like a GUI. This is a Xerox computer that I think was primarily made for business, but it had its own user interface that looks quite like the Mac. Astute computer historians will know that the Macintosh GUI was based on a Xerox GUI that was developed in the 70s at the Xerox PARC Research Center. And of course, we all love the mouse, which has these wacky buttons, right? This here is the PC Junior, um, the really disappointing younger brother of the IBM PC that was made for a more sort of family and education audience, but wasn't fully PC compatible and had this terrible mushy keyboard, but it did take cartridges. So it had the basic cartridge on there. This here is something I hadn't seen before, a TI branded luggable. Luggable being one of those type of computers that it was portable, but it still weighed like 40 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
It was,
I have
and this one had 2 disk drives. We saw a
I
lot
have
of luggables there.
I have the compact equivalent of it. Looks exactly the same.
That's I have another picture of the compact. So
Excellent.
here's my son Isaac playing with an original Commodore PET.
Indeed.
For those who don't know, the PET was Commodore's first, I think Commodore's first computer, certainly the first major personal computer. It came out, I think it came out at the same
77.
time as or before the Apple II.
Yep,
Yeah, wasn't that
1977.
about the same year as the Apple II?
It was, in fact, it
Yeah.
was part
So,
of what was referred to as the 1977 Trinity. It was the PET, the Apple II, and the TRS-80 were all 77.
yeah. So one thing that surprised me about this PET, newer PETs than that had like a really full keyboard, but this one has this really small keyboard here that's kind of annoying looking. Very not good for touch typing. Um, so this here, wait till the screen shifts.
That was
This is
the
a
that was the
hobbyist
2000
computer called the
that
Cosmac.
that was the 2001, right? With the weird little keyboard, the PET.
Yes,
Yeah, weird little
the
keyboard.
original PET had the little keyboard, and then they had like a bigger keyboard on, I think, the subsequent PETs. Um, so here, this is a Cosmac VI VIP, which was a popular hobbyist board. They were actually selling or somebody was showing off replicas of this that people now program today. Um, but this is an
Sure,
original
why not?
one. Um, this here, I love the old terminals that connected to. This is one you couldn't touch. This is behind a rope, but this is an old digital terminal. Um, this here is a Data General terminal. Or actually, I connected to a mainframe that you can see next to it here. What I took a picture of this one because I have keycaps that look just like this. They're replica Data General keycaps at home,
Nice.
and I saw the original of my keycaps and was pleased. So this here, somebody did. I don't know why they called it an abomination. Did something to fix this computer. Um, this was somebody at Linux OS as their license plate.
Sure.
Does anybody recognize the person on the computer screen?
I don't know.
I actually am not sure what kind of computer this is. I don't think it's a very, I think it might be a PC. That's Douglas Adams,
Oh, okay.
author of Hitchhiker's Guide to
Yeah.
the Galaxy. Um, so somebody had a picture of him there. This here, uh, another one that I really thought was cool is a B box. Are you familiar with the B box?
I assume it's hardware that shipped with BOS.
Correct. I believe it was a Power PC chip inside.
Okay.
Um, so they had that running. Um, I thought that was cool.
Oh,
Here's a
that
K Pro,
that same monitor
another lug,
that
another
everybody
luggable.
owned at some point in their past. That Dell monitor.
Which Dell monitor?
That black one.
This?
That
Oh
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everybody had that monitor at some point in
Yes,
their past. Either at work or
I'm
school or
sure
at
they. I'm
home.
sure they did.
There you go.
Yes, everybody had it. Um, so here's another luggable. One thing that I'm actually really curious about is what is the best way to get a green CRT that you can use with today's computers? Because there are some programs that kind of emulate the look of the green CRT in a terminal window in Linux, but it's just emulating it. It's not the real look because there's something about the phosphorus in these old monochrome screens that makes the text really sharp, and it's just not replicated by an LCD screen. I
Yeah, that's for
really
sure.
found myself missing these old monochrome screens, and there were so many computers with the old monochrome screens on them of different kinds. Um, Here's another one. This is an Osborne with a
Mm.
blue monochrome screen. All these ones recently I've shown you were all part of the regular museum. They were pointing out this TRS-80 has something that shows a display from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Um, this here is, I believe, this one here is. I'm not even sure what this was. Oh, BBC Micro, um, popular in the UK. Here we have a picture of my first computer that I owned, a TI 99 4A. Uh, Not the best computer, to be honest, but was cheaper. Um, this here is a Tandy.
Mm-hmm.
This is the PC Junior, with somebody did made it say hello a million times. Here's my son with a regular PC. I'm not sure what the software was there, the PCRR, but he liked it. Here's an ancient laptop that is a 286 laptop, not common, right? Um, More TRS-80 Tandy stuff, uh, more of the pet. I'll get to we'll get to some more interesting stuff in a sec. This was another Samsung I don't even recognize.
Yeah.
Uh, Here was another terminal, the ADM3A.
Love the look of it.
This was an Atari computer that came out in '91, so a late Atari. Um, this was an HP terminal, so interacting with your thing. This, I guess, I didn't get a good shot. This was one of those really giant computers. Here is another terminal. I'm not sure who made it. Triad. Um, now we're into something that a lot of people probably recognize as a computer they used in school. Recognize this one, Scott?
Oh yeah. The Apple
Apple
II.
II. Yes. Um,
I got one of those around
this
here
was a
somewhere.
game. This was a game on an Amiga. I took a picture so I'd remember to download it or something, called
Hmm?
Leander. It looks really cool.
Yeah,
Now
it
this
does.
is an interesting thing. Oh, and now this is an interesting thing. This is Microsoft Neptune. It is a prototype version of Windows that never came out and was replaced by Windows Millennium. and you can see it has Windows Millennium branding on it. But it was a different code base. And you see this is from 1999. They also had a Mac version of Mac OS that never came out over there
Neptune.
somewhere. This
Neptune
was a whole
was
bunch of yeah.
the first attempt at going NT for home computers, and it ended up they ended up waiting on that until Longhorn, which became XP.
So here, this place here had a whole bunch of Hackintoshes.
Indeed.
You'll notice that these are all Windows computers, but they're all running OS X, which is pretty cool. And these are like really, really small laptops. Like they don't really make anymore, like the Libretto. So here's another shot. Here's a shot of BEOS, sort of. BEOS, which was one of my favorite operating systems of all time, was an operating system that was proposed as a replacement of Mac OS and Windows by a third party called B, that was started by a former Apple person. It unfortunately didn't get anywhere. They were trying to get Apple to buy it, and Apple didn't, and they were selling their OS for like $100, and not a lot of people bought it. I personally got it though because I thought it was awesome. I loved the look of it. It did better multitasking and multimedia than anybody else at the time. But unfortunately, because it was copyrighted, not open source, people couldn't continue it after they went out of business. But there's a group called Haiku that's kind of recreated it. And so this is actually Haiku OS that's running, and it's running on a new PC here because this PC is I don't know exactly what's in it, but this is a new PC. This case just came out last year. So very like new stuff. Here again is a Hackintosh. This is everybody's favorite. My son was impressed to see his first iMac. He'd never seen an old iMac like this.
And the Bondi blue color, the only one that is a real iMac in my opinion.
Yes. So here was something a little interesting. Somebody had an old Mac clone from Pioneer.
Nice.
And it had this special camera on it that was like one of the world's first like computer cameras, and it was color and everything, and actually gave you like a pretty good feed. And here they had a Laserdisc player it was interacting with somehow. So that was cool.
I miss that. That was one of the cool things about Laserdisc players is almost all of them had interfaces that you could control them remotely. We did it. I remember, God, must have been middle school in our programming class. We were able to control the Laserdisc player over the network, and we made a Jeopardy game where it would play questions or clips or something off of the Laserdisc. It's pretty cool.
So this was just kind of showing off the Apple Studio Display monitor, which was one of the first LCD monitors to come out. And I remember it was like $800 or $900 for this 14-inch display, and yet I really wanted one. It looks super cool. Here they were just playing other stuff, like they had a Nintendo 64 hooked up to it. And here, of course, you see the corner of PowerBook. This was really fun. This little thing here. So they had a display all about cable television, and someone had created a cable box that still works, although I think that all the channels were actually videos that had been recorded to fake it. But you remember these old boxes, right, with the buttons on them?
Of course.
So there's my son playing with it. So like here it was, and you actually could like move the you see it said 1998 preview networks or whatever. I think these are all recorded. Oh, it's an Arduino microcontroller used to sense the button press, and then it uses some kind of a feed into the TV that looks like old VCR stuff. But anyway, that was a fun look back. some old printers there, so you might imagine dot matrix and such. I'm not even really sure what this was. Here, somebody was showing off Amiga emulation and Amigas. So, and this is like a little Amiga emulator, and this is an Amiga, and they've actually had Amiga boxes that had Raspberry Pi inside. Here is an Amiga operating system. Some of these things were running MorphOS, which I think is an Amiga emulator. Anyway, here's my son checking out the world's first 1984 Mac. He was very impressed by it, but he thought it was very interesting how when you drag the windows, just the outline of the window moves. And when you double click on stuff, it just looks like it's kind of exploding. Behind him here is an Apple Lisa, which folks will remember was actually the predecessor of the Mac and another GUI Apple computer. This I think we just took a picture of because it's a PDP-8 on a chip. Here's another printer. This one was printing out. I think this was a daisy wheel one because it wasn't actually printing dots. It was printing with characters, printing pictures made out of ASCII. Here's a VT105 terminal, another digital terminal. This here was an interactive computer. This person runs some kind of computer museum in, I think, where is it, Netherlands or something, and brought a couple of Philips branded computers that had come out in the 80s, which I had not seen before. Here is another terminal called a Health Kit, which I'd never heard of before. Heathkit.
Heathkit.
The
Heathkit.
Have you heard of these?
Heathkit was something that
I had not.
Yeah, they were sold at Radio Shack.
Were they actual computers or were they just dumb terminals?
Yeah, I think they were computers.
Huh. Fascinating. So this person just had Zork running on a C64 and they had an Atari. Nothing too special. This person here was showing a lot of sort of clones of the Cosma Elf and Cosma VIP, those like hobbyist boards that they were showing. So here's one that was made with Arduino with these little keys. And he also had the original boards somewhere on here. Just crazy, all these little boards. So like here's one of the old Cosma real boards, and here's an emulator, and here's one of the original Cosma boards. These are all hobbyist things that hobbyists did. This person had a computer with Frogger on it. And did you ever have a joystick that looked like this?
I think I still do.
Yes, I had one. I definitely had a joystick like this. So another luggable computer. I'm not actually really sure which luggable this is. But we'll get to some. So this person was making like reproductions of the PDP-8 and PDP-10, which were like major computers with lights and switches. Let's see, back to another Tandy. Now this part to me was fascinating. Which this okay, yeah. So yes, sorry, Commodore 64. So this setup here was fascinating. They had South American computers. So what happened was half of the table was Brazil and half was Argentina. And the guy from Brazil told us about all these Apple II, 2+2E clones that were made in Brazil only under different names. So here's one that was a 2E. And you could see the inside. The boards are very similar to an Apple board, but were made by somebody else. This one here is also, even though it says Apple II Plus, is not actually made by Apple. It's a clone. Similarly, this Craft 2 Plus, you'll notice has a numeric keypad, which I don't think any Apple II ever had, and it has Portuguese letters above some of the keys. I thought that was really interesting.
Archive.org has the product manual for that TK3000.
Yeah, you could get all this. So here's a TK2000. I think this was an Atari clone, but
looks like
not 100% sure. So the Argentinian guy on the other side here had something very fascinating to say. He said Argentina was a dictatorship at that time and was not allowed to import computers from the US. So they would get the parts from Commodore sent to them, all the parts, the keyboard, the boards, everything, and then assemble it in Argentina and sell it there. So these are Sinclair. You remember the ZX 80 or the Sinclair, the cheapo Sinclair computers that were not great. Here he's showing me a cartridge that has like multiple cartridges in it or multiple games because it's for an Atari clone called the Froggy Junior. The Froggy Junior. Wait, here's a picture of the joystick, the Atari joystick that came with the Froggy Junior. Have you ever seen a joystick like that before?
No.
He said it doesn't have a PCB inside. It just has metal. And that when you move the joystick, it touches the metal.
Sure.
Both fire buttons do the same thing. He said. Here's a closer look at the Froggy Junior, which is their Atari clone, Atari 2600 clone, right?
Yeah, it is.
And the cartridges would often have... What?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It is what?
Atari clone. That's definitely a 2600.
Yeah, it's an Atari clone. Yeah. Yeah. So these were some of the Commodore clones they had. One was called the Dream Commodore 64. And these were all sort of put together. Here's another Spectrum clone that they had. This is the Dream Commodore 64. Looks a lot like the original Commodore 64, to be fair. Right. So these were all Argentinian computers that came out because they couldn't import from the US. Also, they needed a special video chip because they were neither NTSC nor PAL. Did I lose you, Scott?
Nope.
Okay. Sorry.
Just enjoying the show.
We're almost at the end of our exciting... Sorry, we're almost at the end of our exciting show here, but you see here, you said old compact computer, right? So here's the old compact luggable.
Yeah, I think that's the model I have.
You know, here you can see closer look at it. Also, there was this old Toshiba laptop, and strangely, the thing my son most wanted to see was Windows 95. He seemed to think like that this is really old, and he wanted to see an old Windows running.
Sure.
Whereas for me, or Windows 98 or Windows 95 or Windows ME running, he thought were amusing.
That's an SE, right? Yeah.
Also, I'm really curious about, I remember these sort of, what would you call them? Semi laptops here from Tandy, where they had like a little tiny screen on it.
Yep.
I find those fascinating. I've never gotten to use those. Oh,
I have 4 of them upstairs.
You have 4 of them?
Uh-huh. That particular model, I have 4 of them upstairs.
What are they called?
They were a Model 100.
Yeah.
Let me see if I'm correct.
So
Yep, Model 100. TRS-80 Model 100.
yeah. So anyway, I just had fun seeing all of those things, and I thought folks might have fun seeing them. I was particularly excited to see some of these things that never came out in America, uh, that were just made because there were, a need in a foreign country to make such a thing, like the Argentinian ones, um, to really have folks innovate. So I thought that was really, really fascinating. There's obviously a very thriving community of people who maintain these computers. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people were selling parts that you could use to kind of revamp such computers. They would even
Mm-hmm.
sell things that would sort of like emulate a floppy disk drive, but actually allow you to plug in a USB and things like that.
Wild.
So,
That's crazy.
so
I love it.
there's a big retro scene, and lots of great old stuff. I wish I could have played with it even more, but I recommend folks look for a computer museum in their area, or just go visit Scott since he sounds like he has a computer museum.
Yeah, not far off. The number of things that you showed off there. I don't have the SE, but I do have the replacement, the SE30. I've got a Lisa. I've got 4 of the Model 100s. I've got Commodore 64 and 128. There's an Amiga around here somewhere. I have
Yeah.
the final 4 installation CDs, the final 4 versions of BOS up in the office. Also Next, which it didn't look like anybody had on display. That
Oh,
was
they
the
had a
reason.
next. They
Oh,
did.
they did.
They did actually. I guess I didn't get a picture of it. There was a next cube somewhere.
Good, because
There was an
that's the
next cube.
reason. That's the reason that Apple abandoned its plans to buy BOS is because Steve Jobs came back and they bought Next, which became OS X.
Yeah. Yeah, so they had that somewhere, a next cube somewhere. They also had Silicon Graphics workstations. I guess I didn't get any pictures of those. I should have. I tried to get a picture of everything, but maybe I missed a few. One thing I did not see that I was really hoping to see was I didn't see any Atari 400s.
Hmm.
Uh, I would have liked. There were a lot. There was a whole classroom full of Atari 1200s for people to learn Atari Basic, but I didn't see any Atari 400s. I would have loved to shown my son the crazy flat keyboard that they had, but didn't get to do that one. So oh well. But
I have,
lots of cool stuff.
yeah, seems like it. I have a buddy that just did a project using Microsoft Azure for an Atari something. I don't remember which. Atari? Amiga. Atari. Yeah. Uh, we all kind of run in the same circles. Anyway, that was, as somebody who obviously does have a strangely large collection of odd things, um, I definitely appreciated that because there are obviously some things in there that I don't have. A lot of things I don't have, but a number of things I didn't know existed. So that was super cool. All those
Yeah.
clones, uh, weird.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
I have
like a
to go
lot more
research them
clones than
more.
I knew about.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more clones than I knew about for sure. So that was kind of cool. One thing that I will give as a piece of advice to the audience is if you have old computers, don't throw them away, as I have done, because at this event they had, like, even if they're not very vintage, they at this event they also have a consignment section where people you can go and you can leave your old computers and like with a price sticker on them, and then people can come for the 3 days and buy, and your stuff is on a shelf and they can buy it and pay for it there, and then you get the money.
That's
Um,
cool.
and I went into the consignment area to see what was there and to see how much they were charging for things that were kind of beat up in the consignment area made me really think that people must be willing to pay a lot for this stuff. Like there was a like Commodore 64 that was all dirty and beaten up, and they wanted $200 for it, right? Like
Okay.
um, they had an iMac, like a working iMac was like $250, and a broken iMac that doesn't work was $25. So, you know, there was a lot of really old stuff and a lot of it not in great condition that people were buying. So, I point that out.
I should have shipped you my case of old RAM.
Yeah, I mean, people would like old components too, not just old systems, old peripherals. People they were selling old phones and fax machines, old
Sure.
discs. Like what the heck? Um, old CDs, CD-ROMs. So yeah, there's a market for this stuff somewhere.
I've got the installer set for Novell from probably mid 90s.
Yep, yep. So it's like my first PC. They had my first PC that I ever owned was a leading edge Model D, which was like a IBM PC clone, and they had one there with the yellow monitor, and they wanted like $200 or $300 for that thing. And I was like, and it was all yellowed and gross. It wasn't even like
Mm-hmm.
new and clean. Like, wow, the amount of money they were charging for some pretty bad beaten up stuff. Imagine if you actually have something that's in good shape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. You name your price if you got a
Yeah.
Lisa in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, probably thousands, right?
I got one.
Yeah, if you wanted to part with it, probably make a lot of money.
No, there's the weird history of that device makes me never want to part with it.
No, I mean, it's a very important piece of computer history. I
Yeah.
wouldn't part with it.
And a weird piece
Yeah.
of cultural history too, because of the oddity of the name and all the things,
Yes, yes, because it's
lawsuits and
his
things that
daughter.
came about. Because he
Yeah.
named the computer after her, but he claimed that she wasn't his daughter, and all the cultural nonsense that came along with it. But that was a lot of fun, Avram. I know that's a personal thing, that event, but obviously you have your day job and lots of other computer stuff over there, right?
Yes, I mean, obviously we do a lot of stuff at tomshardware.com, but it was really fun to go, you know, to go to this. I don't think I'll get a really good article out of this because all I would be doing is just showing people my slides. Although maybe it was fun. Uh, it was a lot of fun. So I recommend if you live near get a chance to go to a vintage computer festival. There's a VCF East and a VCF West, and those probably aren't the only vintage festivals in the world. That it's a fun learning experience. I would definitely go again next year.
I We may have figured out my New York trip to come visit you.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
and it's three
I'm
days, and
in.
they have like they like if there are people who took this who did a lot more than we did. Like they had classes teaching you about Atari stuff. They had
So cool.
lectures. We did attend one lecture where they interviewed a guy who was one of the people who created the main, I guess, graphics chip for all the Commodore computers.
Huh.
So he invented the VIC 2 or something it was called chip that was used
Okay.
in the Commodore 64 and in
Cool.
some other systems or whatever. And he told some story about how he wanted to actually create a Commodore 80 after the Commodore 64 that was going to have a built-in screen and be like what Matt and a GUI and be like what Macintosh became, but they didn't want to do it. So
That happens.
anyway,
Well,
yep.
very cool. I I appreciate that was again cool stuff. Definitely appreciate it. And as always, I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. So this one's just a weird story. We don't get to do these very often. A man was arrested in Japan for Pokemon Violet. I mean, that, give or take, I mean, that's the highlights. So what he did was he would falsify the game's save data and then sell the game with that falsified save data with Pokemon that he had not been caught, rare Pokemon, and Pokemon with altered skill sets. That's it. He's facing up to 5 years in prison because of video game save data, which seems excessive. So I don't know. It for me it seems pretty excessive. 5 years in prison for essentially cheating at a video game. I don't know. It's odd to me.
Do the cheats work?
Yeah.
Does the save data work? Is it legit? I mean, does it working save data?
Yeah.
So why are they spending time and money arresting this person?
Yeah, so the Japanese have the Unfair Competition Prevention Act, which essentially, give or take, their version of the DMCA. And in 2018, they expanded it to include data and essentially save files for all sorts of various things. And so this violated that. Essentially, the save data was protected information, and he violated the data protection, falsified the data, and made a little bit of money in the meantime. He was selling it for about $80 per alteration, or you could get a pack of 6 for $30 a piece.
Yeah.
It seems excessive for cheating at a game.
Can you imagine
that doesn't have any impact? It's not like, oh, this is a thing that will flood the market with too many of a thing, screwing up the in-game economy. You know, it's not World of Warcraft, right? Where there's real money changing hands inside the game and things like that. It's Pokemon. It's not even Pokemon Go. I don't know. Seems excessive to me.
Oh man, I feel very bad for this guy when he goes to prison and people ask what he's in for. Like, can you imagine that? Like, you know, I hope he's in a prison with like people who have not done very interesting things, because like, you know, you're in there in the you know, lunchroom or the rec area or his cellmate, and they want to ask like, What are you in for? Oh,
Uh-huh.
murder, armed robbery, Pokemon saves. I mean, it doesn't.
It does
I
create a
mean,
challenge of sounding tougher, right? What are you in for? Mewtwo. What?
yeah. Listen, don't, don't, don't mess with me, or I will release my release my
Hydro
Snorlax on you.
Yeah. My my
Yeah,
uh my extra powered Hydroblast.
yeah.
What am I
That
talking about?
I mean, also, I mean, I guess it's important to remember that Japan has much lower crime than most places
It's true.
because here in America, like if you were to say you're going to spend money putting someone in, paying for someone's jail for that, like that's a complete. I'm sorry, I think that's a complete waste of taxpayer resources. Like you got to, I mean, it costs a lot of money to keep someone in jail, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lots of one could say about who belongs in jail and who doesn't belong in jail and how much it costs, and I won't get into that all that here. But you're gonna put someone in jail for 5 years for selling Pokemon saves? Like, what's the what's the cost per year, like, of housing someone in prison?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's federal or state, I don't know, but like probably at least 70,000 to 80,000 dollars a year to house them. 5 years, 400,000, $500,000 of taxpayer money, 5 years of this person's life for Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
mean,
and here you can go, you know, clean out all of the iPhones on display at an Apple store and California won't prosecute you. like like we saw that guy a couple weeks ago. And they're going after this guy for Pokemon save data? I your crime rate is low when you're able to focus on something like that. They go after people for littering in Japan.
yeah. I mean, it's so I don't know. It's just kind of wild. I have to imagine that he's not going to get all 5 years, but nevertheless,
It's
uh,
absolutely a story I'm gonna follow because like the overall weirdness of it. It's other video game stuff happened this weekend or this week, and this is the
mhm.
one I felt we needed to focus on because it's just so weird, and we don't get to do these weird stories anymore. It 5 years and a $60,000 fine seems really excessive for Pokemon Violet save data. I don't know. It it's all just
Yeah.
very strange to me. But let us know what you think, because maybe Avram and I have the wrong opinion on this or a weird opinion. Maybe you can sell us on this. So if you think that this is not excessive, let us know why. Because I don't know. I'm definitely definitely confused. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus, it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. Real quick, back on the last topic. Maybe it's just a case of the law exists, this is a violation, we don't care, we're doing it. Anyway, that hit my head during the promo. Anyway, This week, the broadband labels went into effect. If you're not aware of what that is, think of the nutrition labels on the side of every food that you get here in the United States, and then apply it to your internet service. So it's, in fact, visually, it's even designed to mimic the nutrition labels. And what it tells you is what you are or would be paying for with any ISP plan. I went through and looked at all of the ISPs here in our area and compared the broadband labels just to try and get a feel for how useful it would be in comparing, you know, FiOS to Roadrunner. I don't know that anybody still calls it Roadrunner. Spectrum and Frontier and WoW and and I'll tell you, it's pretty fantastic. We talked about this when it was first announced that it was coming a year and a half ago, but it went into effect this week, and I'll tell you, I like it. I like it so much that, I mean, the internet problems that we've had here during the live show tonight are a bonus. I was looking at switching because I was able to see exactly what the difference between plans is. You go in and, Frontier calls it one thing and Verizon calls it something else. And it's just like with cars, right? Everybody has this one feature, but everybody's got a brand name behind it or whatever. This gives you clear, concise information about what it is you'd be getting, what you'd be paying for. So you get, at the top, you get who the carrier is, what the name of the plan is, then the price per month. Then you can see promos and discounts, and then fees and taxes. You see expected speeds, up, down, and ping, which I thought was fascinating. I don't know that the last time we talked about this, I was aware that ping was one of the specs that was going to be on there, or possibly they added it after. That was pretty cool. Then any bandwidth limitations, for example, if you have Comcast and you've got a data cap, it'll show you what the data cap is, and then the penalty for going past it. And then important company information, customer service phone numbers, which can sometimes be a challenge to find, privacy policies, things like that. And then, just like the UPC on a physical product, there is a unique identifier for each plan that you can then use to identify what plan you're on with the carrier or with the FCC or somebody if you need to make a complaint about not receiving what it is you're paying for. So it's an interesting move, and a thing that I generally like. I like the look of it. I like the concise and the conciseness and the information that's provided. Have you gone looking at these things, Avram?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's not like, actually, I would try to look at my plan on Verizon home internet, and it is actually showing a blank or something, which is not good. Or it's actually just like showing a dark screen. It's just like, I think something's a little broken there.
Could be.
But anyway, there's another thing here I can type in my address. But anyway, whatever the case, I mean, I think it's useful to give that information, but okay, I see. That's funny. It's actually, oh, these are mobile. Okay. I can't get the non-mobile one, the home internet one, to load for some reason, which is what I actually have.
Gotcha.
So I think it's good that they give you this so that you can compare. But part of the problem is obviously lack of choice, because if you don't have a lot of choices, just telling you what the facts are isn't going to make them any better.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, what good is it? Oh, good, oh, good news. We're going to tell you how badly you know, we're 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 bilking you, but you don't have any choice.
Yep.
So, I mean, I feel like every time I feel like just talking about disclosure of facts is a is an easy way for like politicians to say that they're doing something without actually doing something.
Sure.
So, you know, uh, similarly, and we could have had this as a story today because it's uh, kind of in a hot topic. But this week, um, California Representative and Senate candidate Adam Schiff proposed an AI bill that would require AI models to disclose every piece of copyrighted material that they used in their model. So um, like this sounds good, right? Oh, look, now we're going to know how badly how much they're stealing to make models like GPT-4. But at the same time, if you're disclosing it, um, but people can't do anything about it, what good is it? Now, presumably with the disclosure, this makes it easier for publishers to file lawsuits, because then you can prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that your work was taken. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, actually, an actual solution, if the problem is that they're taking copyrighted material, the solution isn't to disclose it. The solution is to disclose it and hold people liable for it.
Yeah.
uh, is to make clear in the law that this is not permitted without a license, because it's still it's still very much up in the air, with the companies claiming that it's fair use, and you know lawyers saying that it's not. And if this law that Schiff is proposing was meant to solve a problem, the weakest solution to a problem is, yeah, we'll just tell you how bad the problem is, but we
Right.
won't actually solve it, right? um, so we're kind of counting on people to be outraged and do something about it, and then do what? Push the government to come up with a law to solve the problem. Like,
Right.
you
Right.
are proposing a law, solve the problem, you
Right.
know solve the problem. I mean, the other thing with his thing is that it's relying on the software vendors to say what they took, uh, in terms of copyright, and then know what is copyrighted and what is not.
Right.
Right. So how do you know what's, like, that requires such an in-depth amount of research, and they could very plausibly claim, well, look at all this stuff we didn't disclose because we didn't know it was copyrighted, or nobody, or who's,
Yep.
it in fact gives them an out, right? Like, oh, look, I didn't steal your stuff. It's not on my list of copyrighted stuff that I stole.
Yeah.
But it very well could be it's just that they didn't flag it as copyrighted, right? So it it's like it's too clever by half, right? Um, and this disclosure law is like, these things are better than nothing, but I feel like without creating a scenario where people can clearly act upon the information that they've gotten here, it's not it's not a great solution. Like, okay, if you've got multiple choices of broadband carrier in your neighborhood, and you look at this, and this might help you,
Yeah.
but you still need competition.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. We definitely need more competition in broadband, but for people like me who are fortunate in choice, it's I mean, I literally learned some stuff today about the plans that are available here, and might be working to solve the particular problem that we're having tonight, because of the information that I learned there. So it's an interesting move. It's interesting information. Consistency and uniformity of information and disclosure of stuff like this I like, and even if you've only got one carrier, if they're not fulfilling the requirements of the contract, which can be easily spelled out, at least this gives you some proof and possible recourse in it. So yeah, there's some interesting things that could come out of this. So I'm glad that it's in place, and it's something that, again, I might actually take advantage of. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. This week, as part of CinemaCon, we learned some stuff about what's going on, or what's possibly going on, over at Paramount, in particular around Star Trek. A series that I love, and I know is controversial, or at least was controversial earlier on. Star Trek Lower Decks. This 5th season will be its last, and with that, I think we will be down to the weird muck that is Prodigy, and whether or not it actually does exist, and whether or not Paramount is still supporting it outside of, I think, the UK or something. And Strange New Worlds, because Picard's gone, Discovery, Lower Decks, kind of Prodigy, is the golden age of Star Trek streaming coming to an end? Maybe. Paramount, we know, is in trouble. They have tried to sell themselves over the last couple of months. And if you watched the presentation, the new stuff that was announced felt a little bit like, the whole presentation felt a little bit like Paramount showcasing its IP more than actually announcing new projects, which was concerning, especially for a company that's in the process of trying to find a buyer. But hopefully that's not what it is. Hopefully the stuff that they talked about could actually come to fruition. A new Star Trek film, the series at Academy, which has and has not had things mentioned in recent months. What's it called? The movie.
Oh, the Michelle Yeoh movies for sure happened,
Yeah,
because they wrapped filming.
Okay, well that's good. But that's a
So
film.
the Section 31 movie wrapped filming. Yeah.
But that's a film, right? And
Yep.
in fairness, Batgirl wrapped filming, wrapped editing, and will never see the light of day. So just because it's wrapped filming doesn't mean that somebody's not going to try and take a write-off on it. I don't think they will on this, because this was like a fan demand film. I think they would lose any goodwill they have left with fans. if they pulled that kind of thing here. Um, but
Well,
especially
does
again,
Paramount do that?
they have Prodigy was one of the things that they
Uh,
pulled as a tax write off, even though
uh,
season two had at least partially been actually in principal animation when it was announced that it wasn't coming back, and then it was, but not here. That whole thing is weird. I haven't quite figured out what's happening with Prodigy, but yeah. And if you're trying to sell yourself and you're trying to make a good financial impression, I mean, now would be the time to pull something like that, right? To produce a little bit of cash on hand with a tax write-off. You know, anything's possible, I guess, is my point there. We can't say for sure, but you
yeah.
know, the presentation felt like an IP sales presentation, not so much a fan service. Look at what we're working on. That was my impression. I've seen other people say things like it. So hopefully that's not what it is. Hopefully that there's some cool, interesting stuff in the works. But I don't know. Is It's definitely a different era, right? Is the Disney style, the MCU style golden streaming age for Star Trek coming to an end? What do you think?
It could be. So right now, Paramount is negotiating with Skydance on selling themselves.
Hmm.
Uh, Skydance is an independent studio that apparently helped make Top Gun Maverick.
Okay.
Uh, and private equity group Global Management wanted to pay 26 billion
Mm-hmm.
for it.
There
Uh,
was there
anytime these
was
things,
there was discussions a couple of months ago. They met with Warner Discovery.
yeah, that's not good. you don't. I don't know. I don't know who a good corporate parent for them would be, but I don't think it's Disney, and I don't think it's Warner Brothers. Um,
Mm-mm.
because Disney is already, first of all, I don't think you want to Disneyfy um, Star Trek, right?
No.
So, and also then you'd have kind of, can't have Star Trek and Star Wars under the same roof. It's just, it's not right. Um,
Yeah.
and then,
There'd
and
be a
then Warner
revolt.
Brothers, like is just having a great time canceling things. So I don't I don't think that's great either. They're just really just trying to, I don't know, whatever. So I don't know what a good answer for this is. Who's, it's a shame that it's not making more money. Is the reason that it's Paramount Plus not making money because of Star Trek? Or is it because Star Trek wasn't enough by itself and the other
Right.
stuff they have isn't compelling enough? I
Yeah.
I don't know.
Star Trek and Survivor weren't enough to keep CBS and Paramount afloat.
Right. I mean, I don't know. Is the problem that you need more of a niche um, audience? Like, like, should they just be the Star Trek channel?
Right.
I guess you can't really survive. It's just the Star Trek channel. But I mean, maybe. I mean, this makes me very sad because I feel like this has actually been like a fantastic era for Star Trek.
Yeah.
Um, fan, uh, in in my view, like the best era of Star Trek. I know a lot of people would say that that was, um, the '90s when you had Next Gen and Deep Space Nine and Voyager,
Mm-hmm.
all kind of overlapping with each other at different points, and then Enterprise came on, and kind of people got sick of that. Um, but I
Well,
feel like
in fairness, it's been a long road getting from there to
yes,
here.
uh, but I feel like what they've done with these shows is so much like the quality of the storytelling, the quality of the acting, the quality
Mm-hmm.
of the special effects, like is really like top notch, so much better than any of those 90s shows that I know there's a lot of people who don't like Discovery. I love Discovery. I absolutely love Discovery. It's back on the next few weeks for the final season. I am watching every episode the day that it's available, um, with great sadness that it's not going to go beyond the season. So, uh, so, and Strange New Worlds is also a really good show. But
Mm-hmm.
Lower Decks, I love Lower Decks.
Me too.
Is Lower Decks is so fantastic of a show. Yes, it is a show that appeals to people who know Star Trek because you have all these like callbacks and making fun of Star Trek. Um, but it is a hilarious show. I was very, very sad to see that they canceled it. Now, Discovery canceled after five. This show canceled after 5 seasons. Is 5 seasons the new kind of cutoff point for streaming? For streaming shows, look, Stranger Things, the most popular streaming show around, cut off after 5 seasons too, right? So, although the way Stranger Things is going, they spend so much time filming one season, the kids will be like grandparents by the time they would get to season six.
Yeah.
Um, but nevertheless, like the it seems that five
They got
seasons of a streaming show is a
yeah.
lot.
It does. And so, in fairness, for Stranger Things, they got heroed by the writers' strike, and they got hit by COVID, all in their production schedule. So the first 3 seasons came out pretty rapid fire, and then 4 and 5 got hit by all kinds of production delays. But yeah, it does seem that 5, and 5 was the plan earlier on, for the mainline Stranger Things story. So again, it was planned for 5, Discovery for 5, Lower Decks for 5. We've seen it happen a number of other times. 4 or 5 does seem to be the magic number for seasons for streaming before people start to fade away. There's people like me that will never fade away, and will go back and rewatch Lower Decks several
Well,
more times. But I'm not. I
but
know I'm not normal.
so I just remember in the 90s reading stories about how the way that it worked, the Star Trek shows had to end after 7 seasons because there was some expense that became like incredibly more expensive after the seventh season. I don't know what it was, contracts or whatever, but if you notice, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager all ended after 7 seasons, and that was very deliberate. It wasn't that they were losing ratings or something, and they just decided it was a coincidence. Like they always said, we got to cut these off after 7 seasons because they become too expensive for some reason. Now, so that was the standard, right? 7 seasons. With streaming now, it seems like 5. But then let's turn this model on its head a little bit while we're talking. What about all these shows that never end, that go on for eternity, that are on network television? What is the economics there? Like Law and Order SVU, 25 years. Uh, Grey's Anatomy on for like 20 years. They don't even have the gray person anymore, but they still have the show. Like the um was it NCI? Did NCIS ever end, or is it still going on? They had
I
all the
think it's still going.
NCIS shows and the CSI shows and all those shows going on around 20 years or more. So it seems that with certain kinds of shows, they never want to take them off of the air, at least when it comes to broadcast. Or like The Simpsons, holy cow, they're still going, right?
Yep. Simpsons, Family Guy, both 25 plus, I think, at this point. Family Guy, I think, actually might be 23.
South Park,
Yeah, South Park.
South Park,
Which is Paramount,
right?
by
So
the way.
animation, right? So animation goes for absolutely forever, and then these procedural or relatively procedural, I guess it can have an ongoing story, cop,
Yeah.
secret agent, and medical shows can go on for eternity,
ER.
as well. And they make 20 something episodes a season. It's not like Lower Decks that makes like 10 episodes a season or something.
Yeah.
So
with those,
I
it's
wonder
all
why that
about,
is.
So with those, it's all about once you hit 100 episodes, the production cost goes down because now you can start syndicating. 100 episodes for broadcast television is a magic number because at 100 episodes you can start charging for syndication, so that TNT or TBS or whatever, these networks that do a lot of syndicated content can start airing them, and they pay to license it. So production actually goes down after 100 episodes.
But isn't that an incentive to just stop because they've made enough to fulfill the syndication?
The licensing fee goes up the more episodes there are, because you're licensing a larger back catalog. So your actual production cost actually goes down because for every episode you make, the licensing for TBS and TNT and CW and whoever else is syndicating, say, ER, right, is lower because somebody else is paying at least part of the cost in perpetuity, because 200 million seasons of ER, and NBC is still getting paid that licensing fee by all the networks that syndicate it, because I think there's 3 right now. And Family Guy is another great example. That's syndicated everywhere. Paramount has it. Turner has it. Turner and Paramount might be the same company, I think. No, that's Warner. Turner is Warner. So both Warner and Paramount seem to be licensing Family Guy. So, there's a lot of interesting with broadcast, but it doesn't work the same way with streaming because there's nobody. The business model isn't set. Nobody is waiting, champing at the bit for that 100 episodes so that they can start paying you so that they can run it too. That's an oddity of appointment television.
Right. I just wonder, wouldn't that suggest that they should try to get more episodes or more seasons so they could syndicate?
With streaming, I bet you could syndicate at any point. I bet all the well, maybe not, because there's still union rules. So I don't know. Yeah, you would think, but it seems that the idea of syndication from streaming to elsewhere just does not seem to exist, even though there's potential for it. You could do it,
right?
Because I can go watch every episode of Family Guy right now on demand on Hulu with my account with no commercials, and yet Cartoon Network, some other Turner stations, they air them every day on appointment television. They pay that licensing fee and they air them every day. So obviously, it's not a direct competition with streaming, or Turner wouldn't be doing it.
Yep.
So I don't know. Seems like there's potential there that's just totally being ignored. But and Paramount could put Star Trek back on television. Just saying. They own CBS. They could literally put it back on television as appointment TV if they wanted to. They could license it to themselves. I don't know. It's an industry. I think the streaming world is trying to be different, even though it's all owned by the same people. I think they're trying to do something different, even though the doing something different is clearly not working. It is for Netflix, right? Because Netflix isn't owned by one of the legacy media. But all the things that are owned by the legacy media are like, well, we're going to be different than the other division. Why? Just because you want to be different? If y'all know how to do the other thing, do the other thing. Right? You don't have to be different just to be different. I don't know. And then we have TCL making an AI rom-com. So, you know, it's a confusing industry, Avram.
Very much so.
I guess with some time we'll see what happens. You know, the possible buyout of Paramount could change things, especially if this one that you mentioned goes through, because that's the Ellison family. So, you know, one of the richest families on the planet could buy it and take a loss on it for a while bringing it back and doing interesting things with IP. So I guess there's a lot up in the air right now, and only time will tell what comes next. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate it. If you didn't and would like to in the future, it's easy. Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us. There, you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback. We always appreciate that and always enjoy it. If you can't join us live, that's okay as well. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. If you are following us on social media, in particular on Facebook, in the coming weeks, I think you're going to see a change. There's been some changes going on internally. You're going to see a change. The disparate Facebook pages, except for First Looks, are going to collapse down into one, because why should we separate all of our friends into categories? So you'll see that coming soon, I suspect. It's up to Facebook at this point, so watch out for that. We're trying to do some fun stuff over here. We got a lot going on. I've got some cool new products coming. Can't wait to show you guys. So I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we'll see you back next time. Ciao.